Do you have busy, energetic children? We've got 4 hacks for rambunctious kids.
I love that my job is to illuminate the obvious. But some obvious things are totally unnoticed, and I think this is important to notice. Children's work is
play.
Right, so here's hack number 1. Play with your kids. Get down on the floor with them. Don't be afraid to interact with them on their level. I've found, at least in my practice, Vicki, maybe you can back this up in the kids that you've worked with, that sometimes kids become a little more hyper, a little more rambunctious when they're trying to get the kind of attention that they're really craving.
Definitely.
And as parents, we've got other things to worry about. I mean, we got to take care of the house and get dinner ready and earn some money to pay for the groceries. But our kids are busy doing their work full-time every day. Getting down on their level and playing with them sometimes will provide them with that kind of attention that they're really needing and craving, and brings the energy level down a little bit.
A lot of the times it kind of resets them too, to be able to focus on another task after they've gotten some of that busy play out. And so getting down and playing with them, giving them your eye contact and getting at their level. This could mean older kids too, getting on their level, whatever their level is, and playing with them.
It's really amazing to me that we miss this sometimes because it can be so obvious. Kids need to play. And there's a lot of research coming out. Vicki and I did a conference not too long ago in British Columbia with some child care providers. Big shout out to you who are providing these kinds of services for little kids. But I remember we spent probably an hour of that conference going over some of the research and the backup for this idea that kids need to play. So as a parent, just commit to do that. That's your first hack.
Hack number 2 is catch and reinforce desired behavior. This one can be really tricky because a lot of the times when the child is doing what you expect them to do, you just kind of almost don't notice it because it's what is expected.
Right.
And so you have to train your own brain to really watch for and reinforce when things are going well.
And we have some natural barriers to this in our own psychology. And this is because your mind is programmed to pick up on what's wrong, what's out of place, what's missing. And if you find that you're constantly disciplining your very energetic child, it's probably because you notice all of the things that are happening that are out of line, the things you don't want. Well, there's a whole lot of things happening that are right on schedule too. We just don't notice it as much. So that's your hack, to notice it, first of all, and then to take intentional steps to reinforce it.
I was recently reading this weekend from a blog about stuttering, actually, that we need 5 to 1 in praise, like commenting when you're working with a preschooler, about 5 times things are going the way, wow, I love that, that picture's great, you really used some beautiful colors, before you give 1 correction. And so a lot of the times with our really rambunctious kids, it might not be easy to find 5 things to comment about their behavior, but maybe about one of the other things that's going right with them. Make sure you're giving 5 praises to every 1 correction. And so that's one of the reasons it helps you get better at watching for when things are going the way you want them to or that you're expecting them to.
I remember Marty Seligman talking about this. Dr. Seligman is a past president of the American Psychological Association and also one of the founders of the positive psychology movement, which I think is really awesome. But I remember him saying that this ratio is really important. You would think, and I'm talking about mental health now, okay? Right. You would think that people need a balance. You know, if you're getting negative inputs, you need to kind of balance that out with the positives. What we found in that research in psychology is that a 1-to-1 ratio contributes to depression.
Yeah.
Depression, not happiness, not being well adjusted. What you said is absolutely consistent with the research. 5 positives to every 1 negative. And you know what the ratio is in a typical junior high setting? It's about 13 negatives to every positive.
Yeah. And I read this weekend that in relationships in like husband-wife, it's like 0.8 positives to 1 negative. Crazy. So
We got to turn this around.
Yeah, let's
folks.
take hack number 2 and really embrace it and find
Yes.
those positives.
It will take an intentional effort, but put the work in. This will be worth it. For hack number 3, I'm going back to a guest who was on my podcast probably 10 years ago. Her name's Sandra Taylor. Sandra wrote this book, Hold On to Your Horses. And it's a clever little book. There's others on the market too that you can look for. But this clever little book describes wild horses that are inside of our kids. And you can probably relate to this because sometimes it feels kind of like that. Think about a horse for just a minute. Hack number 3 is to harness the energy of your child. Now, a harness, when you're riding a horse, does not take away the power or the spirit of that animal. It simply steers it in a direction that is productive. So as you look at how your child has all of this energy, what could we steer it into? And there are all kinds of productive, creative ways that kids can use their energy. So we don't want to just squash it. We want to steer it into something productive.
Some of the places you can try to harness that energy is through sports, hobbies, crafts. I used to watch in the flyer that came out from the city of different classes that were being offered at the local rec center because those were within my price range at the time, you know, so it's like, okay, we're going to do an art class, or we're going to do a karate class or a ballet class, just some different things.
Take some swimming lessons.
Yeah.
Anything that's productive and gets their energy steered in a direction that's not, you know, destroying your house or your sanity. That's what we're looking for.
Hack number 4 is pretty near and dear to my heart. It's to watch out for labeling. Now, this one kind of really, for me, I have one child that just had so much energy to me, and I often said things, oh, he's my crazy child, you're driving me crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I
pushing the limits.
Pushing the limits,
Acting
and
out,
remember, I don't know, maybe 3rd or 4th grade when he was in, I think it hit me quite clearly. I needed to change the way I was labeling him in my mind. And I completely changed. I didn't say it was crazy or he was driving me crazy. I was like, you have so much energy. You're going to go so far. This is going to be the very thing that makes you successful. And it really has. It really has. But it changed everything for me. I don't know how much he remembers. You know, when you find better and do better, you kind of hope that your kids forget the
mistakes you made?
Yeah, so I've never really asked him how it made a difference, but I really felt like it changed the way that I was showing up in my parenting for him. So hack number 4 is to really avoid, or at least become very, very aware of labeling and be intentional about changing it if you need to.
The psychological power of this hack, I can't emphasize enough. What you name something determines how you treat it. And if you're not sure about that, you know, we had this sweet dog that grew up with our kids. We named her Crystal. We had her for 14 years. And I remember we had a friend come over from another country, and he was petting the dog, but he was doing it in kind of an interesting way. And he was teasing us because in his country, they eat dogs. Okay, now we named her Crystal. She's our friend. She's our pet. He might have named her Lunch. And I use that as an example because what you name something changes how you treat it. And may I also add, as a professional psychologist, let's be very, very careful with diagnoses. And I know that there's a lot of legitimate mental health conditions, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the tendency that we have to throw a label on something and think that we've dealt with it. You can't just call your kid, for example, ADHD or autism spectrum. Or, you know, pick a diagnosis, whatever your diagnosis is. No, that's not your child. Your child has a name. And you also have labels that you're applying to the child. Vicki, I think your example is brilliant because that changes you. It changes how you treat that child. And that's why we've made a big deal out of this for hack number 4. Parenting is the most important job in the world, and you're doing a great job at it. We've got lots of resources available to assist you with that most important job in the world. Start with a breakthrough call with one of our coaches. They can let you know what other services are available, and we have a broad range of things that are going to be a great fit for you. drpauljenkins.com/breakthrough call.